I did crack my
Yeah, I
spleen.
was gonna say you did crack your spleen.
Yeah,
That's crazy. I can't believe you tell him I did that to you on live.
this is live.
Oh, I mean, you know what I mean. On camera.
Mm-hmm.
He admitted it. I broke his spleen.
It was cracked, but yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, you just gotta be gentle, bro. I used the safe word.
And I ignored it. He said pineapples, and I'm like, mm-mm,
Mm-mm.
mm-mm.
Core memory.
Cucumber. Cucumber. Oh, man.
All
Anyways.
right, enough gay jokes. Let's go.
No, there can never be enough.
No,
what are you
I know, I
talking
agree,
about?
dude, they're fun.
Yeah. Plus,
I'll never forget the time I made him beat red at the movie theater. I was like,
yeah.
you can at least hold my hand. He was though.
Yeah.
Was right as
that
this
was-
couple was walking right in front
That
of
was Long Legs, wasn't it?
us. No, it was Furiosa.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it wasn't Furiosa because we went to IMAX. Yeah, it was. They weren't going seeing Furiosa, but we were seeing Furiosa. They were walking directly towards us to like kind of walk in front of us in line. And I was like, you can at least hold my
Oh.
hand.
You're right. And he
'Cause we
looked
kinda,
at me.
like we made
He
eye
looked at
contact
me with deep judgment too. He was like, "It's okay to come out." I can tell when his eyes said to me too, and I'm like, "Bro, he's just doing this, okay?"
You're like, God, if I defend myself, it's gonna make it look worse.
It really does. You can't defend yourself because then you're like, "No, it's not gay," and you're like, "Oh,
Is that a
no, I'm
problem?
saying, bro, like it's cool."
yeah, yeah.
You're like, "I'm not gay."
You just gotta play into it.
Yeah,
Embrace
exactly.
it.
You got to make sure which one admits to losing by breaking.
Exactly.
You know, this is usually how it goes.
All right, 100%.
But anyways, since it's spooky season, I thought it would be cool to kind of pull together like a quick top 5 list of horror movies that we love. You know, just obviously and right for the spooky season, and I'm excited to get to our list. So do you want to?
Yeah, I'll
Start it
go
off?
first. I have an honorable mention.
We'll go boom, boom,
Yeah, I'll go.
boom, boom,
Okay.
boom, boom.
There's no particular order other than my top 2
Mhm.
personally, but I do have one that just didn't make the list, and that's Talk to Me. Talk to Me was so fucking good.
Fuck!
It was so good. I loved it,
I feel.
and it was
really
made from those. What's their name?
Raka, but they're the Philpo brothers.
Yeah, I grew up watching them. Like they made the Halo thing that I loved.
Great.
It was so
dude.
awesome,
those,
right?
Those dudes
And
are
they-
so awesome, man. I will watch anything that those guys
That
make.
Talk to Me blew me away. I
Mhm.
was already like, yeah, I'm gonna go watch them. I'll support them and blah blah. But it's different when you actually go there and your whatever expectations you had is now exceeded. Blew me away. I loved it. So that's why I had it as an
Honorable mention.
honorable mention because I just had to. But my first one is Poltergeist, the 1976 one. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe 80s. But that is one of my favorite horror movies. That thing was
Wow.
creepy as shit when
I've
I was
never
younger.
seen Poltergeist.
Dude, it was creepy as shit. So there's like a part.
Is it the clown?
Yes, the clown, bro. It's so scary.
I've seen the parodied version in Scary Movie.
yeah,
and
exactly.
that
the parody of it
terrifies
is good
me.
as well.
That's terrifying. That
Yeah,
one is
yeah, it is
terrifying too.
terrifying.
That traumatized me as a kid. I was like, I don't want that to happen to me.
Yeah, Poltergeist was terrifying as fuck. I watched it, dude, at like 7-year-old.
Do you know about the? I've never seen
skeleton in
Poltergeist.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the real
Apparently
skeleton.
it's real
and haunted.
Yep.
Because yeah, dude, it's that
Well,
whole
dude, the movie is very eerie. Like
Eerie.
they nailed the atmosphere of like just
probably because
silence.
shit was happening.
Oh
like
no,
that
I
on
don't
the
doubt
set,
it.
dude.
Honestly,
it was
I really
insane.
don't.
The more you look into certain projects, you're like, oh wow, especially involving stuff like supernatural. Sometimes it
Yeah.
just winds up actually happening on the set,
Mhm.
which is
But yeah, I have Poltergeist, the
crazy,
OG one, as my number 5.
Mine isn't in any particular order, but I'm just gonna start like working my way down my list. I love these movies, and I will always consider these in my top 5. And the first one I'm gonna say is Scream. I love the original Scream. It's one of the first horror movies I remember watching very vividly, and I remember just being enthralled the entire time. It's a movie that definitely raised me. It was one of the few horror movies as a kid, for some odd reason, I could watch. I don't know that the logic in that, but you
Because
know.
they're actual human, probably.
Yeah, because I feel like that makes more sense to me, even though that's just as scary. Whereas like something like Freddy or Chucky, out of it as a kid, you know, you're like, that's terrifying. No thank
Yeah.
you. But yeah, man, I feel like I don't have to say anything much more. Scream is one of the greatest horror movies of all time.
Oh yeah.
You know, involving a great cast, an amazing scream queen, great twist, great villains, and iconic, even though they've only been in one movie.
Mm-hmm.
So Yeah, man. I don't have anything else to say. You guys already know Scream's goated for sure.
Yeah, goated 100%.
Yeah.
My next up is Get Out. I watched this like opening week, and that was like the most active audience I've ever been a part of. Like people were active, like don't do this, like talking, like talking out loud.
That's
and
funny.
everyone, I could feel like the vibe essentially. Like everyone else is like kind of like.
Oh, dude, that's
Like
so
it
cool.
just had like a tension build up that just kept ramping and
Uh-huh.
ramping and ramping.
Jordan
And then
Peele.
like yes, and then when you get to the part when I guess it's a spoiler, but when he's calling out and the cop shows up and everyone's like, "Oh no!" Like, dude, it was just like a vibe. Like everyone was on the same page. This is awesome. So I have Get Out at my number 4. It was so good.
Awesome. That's awesome.
And
I
then
still
I'll
need
just,
to
I'll
watch
just
it.
do my next one real quick because it's Scream, for all the same reasons you just listed out.
Yeah. You know what sucks is the first two that you listed I haven't seen them, and I should. I
Mm.
know I need to. Poltergeist has been one that's just escaped me for some odd reason, and Get Out another one. Even though I've seen
I have it on
literally
Blu-ray.
every single one of his other movies.
Well,
Like
you can watch it, bro. I
Us.
have it on Blu-ray.
I'm down.
It's so good. Like it's really good.
I'm down. My second one on my list is Evil Dead 2. I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. I love this Evil Dead franchise, everything to do with it. I think 2 is like a special blend of horror, comedy, and slapstick. I love it. I've loved it since I was a kid. Yeah, man, I hold that movie near dear to my heart. I think Ash Williams is one of the best characters ever created. I literally have him on my wall.
I can attest that he does.
Yeah, and yeah, man, it's good. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. You will be done with that movie being like, what the fuck did I just watch? But in like the
I do want
best
to watch
way
it,
possible.
and you did let me borrow it.
Yeah.
I just decided to watch other movies instead.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, I just went on a fucking horror movie kick. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, let's.
All right. So, and you said Scream.
I did say Scream, so you can do one more.
Okay. This one I know he's not gonna like, but The Exorcist is on my list. To me, this movie, because I really couldn't appreciate this movie until I got older and I was able to comprehend really what was going on and what makes this movie so good. And it's the fact that it starts off in a very realistic way. It's like there's no like immediate she's possessed. It's there's something mentally wrong with this little girl and we need to figure it out, but we don't know what's going on. And it gives this eerie feeling along with one of the best performances I think a young actress has ever done. Just fucking terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. I love the ending because it's such a bleak movie overall, but it has like a hopeful ending in a way, but it's also kind of like foreboding,
So it's up to interpretation.
I wouldn't say that, but it does leave you with like a certain feeling.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I feel like you would have to watch it and then kind of
Okay.
try and put into words at the end, but I can't say enough good things about this movie. The score is iconic. That image of the father coming up and it's misty outside and the lights over him and he's seeing the house is so iconic. It's so good. I always, if you've never seen it and if you're a horror fan, I always recommend you watch it. Even if you don't like it, you can appreciate a lot of the things it's done. That's all I have to say, man.
Respect.
Yeah.
And then I believe you haven't seen this one as well, which is kind of crazy because he always goes on about practical effects. Practical effects.
I love
The Thing. The
Yeah.
OG Thing.
Dude, you have so much on your list I haven't seen. That's actually
Yeah.
upsetting, but continue.
And honestly, like doing this list, I'm like, wow, I've actually, because like I would always like whenever he talks about things, I'm always like, I haven't seen that, But there's actually a lot of movies I have seen. It's just they're all older, like way back in the day in like 1970s, 80s or whatever. But the Thing is so fucking good. It's like very remote, so you get this feeling of like claustrophobia, like you're there with them, and also it leads to this anxiety of not really knowing who is gonna be the thing. And then you building like a rapport with someone, or like you're like, I just don't want this character to die. Like this character needs to live.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, is he infected?
Mhm.
Like, is he the thing now? Like, there's
Have-
subtle differences
It's-
between each person's performance that is so fucking well done.
So there's like this huge psychological aspect.
Oh yes,
to
one
it,
because
this-
everyone starts turning on each other as
Right.
well, because
Which makes-
the
that
thing
makes sense.
morphs into
I've seen the
them.
kill count.
Yeah, the thing turns into them, so they know. and they're like,
Mhm.
it just has like it ratchets up as it goes on,
Mhm.
and I love it. It's so good.
Yeah, I mean, that's one that I genuinely feel like when I watch, when you hear a lot about a movie, it's hyped up.
Hmm.
I really feel like once I watch that movie, it's gonna live up to the hype.
Yeah.
There's a lot of movies that just wind up living up
Well,
to
I
that.
think
Like,
part of
remember
it,
when we
though.
watched The Shining?
Yeah,
We were
I was
like,
just gonna
everyone
say,
loves this.
Yeah,
And we watched it together and we're like, dude, this was so fucking good.
and I feel like that goes back to being like when it's one of the first kind of to do it essentially. It has like this certain level of aesthetic as well, just like partly because of the technology that they were limited to at the time, like the film grain, the setting that they had to
looks so
use, the
good,
practical
though.
effects that they had to use. Like it was, you know what I mean? Like it just has this
That's
certain type of
cinema.
yeah, has a certain type of vibe that you're able to just instantly pick up on because it feels more realistic as
Mhm.
well. So I
Yeah.
think that's a big part of why, like you said, when it comes to The Shining, when we first watched it, I was like, dude, this thing's it was awesome.
Yeah.
The score was awesome. They're just like this fucking mansion, or it's not a mansion, but a resort, and it's
Yeah.
just like you're there.
I
and you're
remember-
witnessing it, and
I remember
it's
us
fucking
being
scary.
Yeah, I remember us being so enthralled from the beginning with the shot. I remember that was the first thing we said. You're like, this shot is sick.
Yeah,
And I remember I
Yes.
remember very closely afterwards. I was like, this score is really cool. Dude.
yes, it was good.
You know, so
I think it just builds up the tension, and it, like I said, I think for me, when it comes to horror movies or just scary movies in general, is like the thriller aspect of it, of
Yeah.
things just getting going, and you're
Yeah.
like, what is gonna happen? Like when you are ask yourself what's gonna happen next, I think that's when the movie's done a good job.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's something about older films, especially,
Mm-hmm.
that have I feel like they have a love and a certain tone that is very hard, maybe not as replicated.
Yeah,
today.
but I think that goes back to the fact that they had to shoot on site. They had to do the practical effects because they had to. I guarantee you, they had to brainstorm. They're like, "All right, man, how are we gonna
Yeah.
do this? How are we gonna get everyone here?
Yeah.
It does snow part of the year. How we gonna work that in? Like,
Mhm.
I'm sure those meetings happen, and I feel like that's an extra level of like them feeling the
Mhm.
care for it. You're like, no, it has to be done right. If we're doing this, it's doing it done
Yeah,
right.
man. And plus, John Carpenter. That's like John Carpenter in his prime, from my understanding too. So, man, some dudes, man, they just fucking,
Yeah, they got it.
they do, bro. He got the sauce. He's the chef.
Mm-hmm.
Always let him cook. Mine, I've talked about it before. I don't think you haven't seen it either. Hellraiser. That's
Watch the kill. You made me watch the kill count.
I did.
Yeah, we watched the kill count together.
Huh.
You're like, you at least got to see this opening shot, and it was like the face melting together or whatever, but they shot it in reverse.
Oh
Yeah, he made me watch
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I was like, that's cool.
Yeah. See, again, practical effects,
Mhm.
the score to that movie, the story. It's like erotic too, but it's also like there's a certain level of like fear you have with these unknown entities, and then just dude, I can't recommend this movie enough. Honestly, if you like old horror movies and you've never seen Hellraiser, that's definitely number one. Is definitely goated up there for sure. It's up there with like Candyman. Have you seen Candyman?
I have not.
Fuck, that's an honorable mention. Candyman is an honorable mention. That's a
Okay.
great fucking film. Yeah, man, watch Hellraiser. I highly recommend it.
All right, I'll go to my number one, and there's going to be a running theme, just like you said, John Carpenter, and I'm going to go with 1978's Halloween. I mean, the first horror movie I ever watched, and it has stuck with me ever since. I will go back and watch it anytime. Anyone wants to watch it, I'll watch it with them. It's so good, and I will point out everything that I know about it and be like, this shot. This is the shot that I love the most.
Yeah.
And and again, it goes back to just being like low budget, and they had to do it a certain way,
Mhm.
and like long take, or like one shots being done, the perspective that they're using, Michael stalking when they're in school and following them through the day, and then leading into the night. There's again tension that's being built up to when you know what's going to happen, and then when it does, you're like, whoa. And also the opening to that movie is bonkers. Having the kid be the killer, especially for that time era,
Yeah.
I can only imagine that being like, holy shit.
Sacrilege.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like I said, when I watched it for the first time, I was like, oh my god, I'm older than that kid.
You're like, I could be a killer.
Yeah, it's like this realization. You're like, oh my god, there is a knife.
Whoa.
Whoa. Okay. Anyways, but
Yeah.
yeah, Halloween, OG one.
That's yeah. dude,
And I did talk about recently 2018, which is a direct sequel. Also awesome. Fire.
You're like, gotta add that,
Yeah,
okay?
always have to add it.
Yeah, dude, that one's great, man. That one's such a good film too.
Mm-hmm.
My last one on my list is pretty iconic. Nightmare on Elm Street. I think that first one is so good. The main character Nancy, she's definitely, you're gonna hear me say Scream Queen a lot, but I mean that in like with the utmost sincerity.
Mm-hmm.
I love Nancy Thompson. She's definitely one of the best Scream Queens because she also like she fought back against Freddy. Like you look back on that, she did like little traps to to fight him and shit. She was a fucking boss, bro. She was a pre like teen version of Laurie in Halloween 2018. With all those traps and shit. But yeah, man, score amazing, great performance. Freddy's not even in it for very long. That's the crazy thing. Johnny Depp first movie, he dies.
Yep. Stuck into a bed.
Yeah, iconic fucking kill too.
Yeah. Honestly, that's probably the only thing and the scene where his hand comes out in the water, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Iconic.
Those are the only two things I remember for that movie.
Or like the scene where he's coming out of the wall.
Oh yeah, that as well. Yeah.
Fucking love it. Great film, dude.
Mhm.
Top 5 of all time. Again, another goated horror movie. If you want to get into horror, if you've never
I
seen
should
it,
rewatch it, to be honest, because I've only seen it once and it was so long ago.
I think you would really enjoy it. I think you'd be like, dude, fucking banger. And Wes Craven made Scream and Nightmare on Elm Street. Goat. Just
I
the
forgot
goat.
about that actually.
Yeah,
I forgot
man.
he made that.
And what's so cool too is that he went from being in the prior quote unquote like past generation of horror with like this like the 80s and the
Mhm.
90s, right? And then he comes back and reinvents the genre with Scream and adds something new and fresh. Go. That's all I gotta say. Go. That's why
Can't
he's
really
the
argue.
goat.